The Vegas incident, man. Do you think Tupac would have got sent back to jail for probation violation if he would have survived the Vegas incident?
Um, yeah, he was going back to prison. And the reason why I say that most people don't understand. When Tupac got out of jail, when he first went to jail for that situation involving New York, when he tried to get bail immediately after he was sentenced. So when they handed down the sentence in court, they struck up a motion to be let out on bail, and or appeal, basically pending appeal. So they wanted for him to be able to be released on appeal bond, right? And the judge in that case basically said, no, you're not going to be able to get out on an appeal bond, right? So therefore, that's why Tupac, he went directly to jail. Usually, sometimes they'll let you get out on appeal bond, but from that perspective, they didn't. And then you have to understand all of the other situations. Tupac had a gun charge in L.A., a felon carrying a concealed weapon. He had that. He had a bunch of other situations involving the young lady that had got shot at a concert of his. I forgot exactly what state it was, but he was dealing with that lawsuit. He had a bunch of other lawsuits and things that he was facing, but mainly it was the gun charge, and they were trying to actually violate Tupac for not doing his community service work for another situation. He was supposed to be like on the freeway cleanup crew, and they basically were trying to violate him for that also, right? And so now you go to Las Vegas. You have the situation involving Orlando Anderson, and like I said, everything is caught on film. So when you understand what that is, they're looking for any reason. Like I said before, jaywalking, trespassing, littering, loitering, to try to put Tupac in jail. And I don't really think he understood the gravity of his effect on what these people were saying, the justice system overall. Having run in with that situation in New York, and when you deal with how they dealt with it in regards to him going to jail, but when it came time to do the Haitian Jack trial, the young lady, she didn't want to go through with that because she said she was exhausted from the Tupac situation, but yet and still she went and filed a civil lawsuit, right? You exhausted with the Tupac situation. Exhausted with the Tupac situation. So when it came to Haitian Jack, you didn't want to go through with it, but you had enough energy to then go and file a civil case in which Tupac settled. So all of the things that Tupac was dealing with at that time, like I said, had he survived that situation and it came about like it came about with the cameras, everything being on camera, most of the times they use that just like they use for Suge. Let's deal with Suge's situation, right? When Suge got caught up for that, did Suge Knight go to jail?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was the same thing that was going to happen to Tupac. They were going to violate him.
Right.
Yeah, so, and
yeah, Suge Knight went to jail for that small little kick, man.
Yeah, that small little kick. And so when you deal with that from that perspective, and Suge was on probation, just like Tupac was on probation. You understand what I'm saying? But not only was Tupac on probation, like I said, he was facing other charges that he had yet to come up to trial for. So it was a possibility that even before he went to jail for that situation involving New York, that when he went to court, that he might have ended up, dealing with that situation. So even if he was cleared, he still had other cases that he had to go to court for. You take all of that into totality, and then you deal with the fact that, okay, this situation in Vegas, you're the aggressor, you're kicking, you're the leader, and this how when they deal with us and dealing with the courts and dealing with the system, it's like you're like the group leader, you're the gang leader or whatever, and they'll say basically you have a propensity for violence. You know what I mean? You dealing with this situation, you out on appeal bond, you're out on a $1.4 million appeal bond. Like I said, that's why Interscope and them had the power of attorney agreement, just in case of something like that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they wanted all of their bases to be covered in case he did something to go against what the conditions were of the appeal bond.
Right.
You know what I mean? So absolutely positively, man, they were going to send Tupac back to prison. And so they're going to revoke your bail on the appeals thing, on the appeal bond, and then you probably going to catch a new charge because, as a matter of fact, once again, Orlando Anderson was thinking about filing charges, suing, the whole 9 yards. It was up to him what he wanted to do, which was in his right at that particular time. Like I said, you see deep pockets, right? You start reaching for them. You know what I mean? Especially if you have been wronged at that particular time. And at that particular time, he was wronged. You know what I mean? There was nothing that they understood at that particular time that they could point to that he did in Vegas, right? We know about the Lakewood Mall incident, right? But in Vegas, that night in particular, basically Tupac was the aggressor. And so how they would deal with you on that one is like, look, you have a propensity for violence. This is not your first run-in with the law. Same thing with Suge. So if you can use Suge as an example of what would have happened to Tupac, that answers your question right there. And even though Suge tried to, he paid Orlando to say, say I didn't kick you, which I thought was preposterous. How you gonna say a man didn't kick you? And you going into these people in this courtroom, basically gonna tell him that they didn't kick you, and it's on video? Are you kidding me? Right. You know what I mean? So this is what we're dealing with when you deal with facts and you deal with people. So I don't even understand the mindset when you deal with that. But yeah, absolutely. They were going to send Tupac. Like I said, they didn't want him to get out. The judge denied the bail when he asked for the appeal bond right after he got sentenced. So yeah, he was going back to prison, man.